Everybody. My name is Emily Barony. I run a company called Visionality, and I am an EDC client. And I am here as your substitute teacher. Claire isn't able to be with us today. So thank you for joining us. A little bit of housekeeping. First, it's a webinar, so everyone is muted and your cameras are off. Please submit any questions using the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. If you do put it in the chat, my team on the back end will just remind you to put it in that Q&A function. Also, we have the amazing Jahi from my team who is in the chat ready to help you with any resources that you need or any tech issues. This is being recorded and you will get an email from EDC with the link to the recording and a link to any of the resources that we talk about. We are holding these webinars weekly, so they alternate Wednesdays and Fridays. So this week is a Friday, next week will be a Wednesday, and we're going back and forth. And I think that's it. So with that, I'm excited to introduce my friend Juliana Ramirez. She is a superstar EDC consultant, and she also runs a bookkeeping service called JR Bookkeeping. Juliana, welcome. I love your hat.
Thank you, Emily. I will just really quickly share that my sister has cancer and she has lost her hair. So I've decided to join in solidarity with her. So I've shaved my head. So you'll be seeing me with hats from now on. So thank you for joining us and for being with us today. Today, it's really more of a Q&A. We want to have this space for you to be able to answer any questions that you might have, that you might still be looking, for information on, or that you're still not too clear on. Please feel free to use the Q&A. It's really, again, just focused to answer as much of your questions. I will be touching on, let me just share my screen really quick here. I will be touching on the ERTC credit. I know there has been quite a bit of questions about that. People want a little bit more information or clarity. So I'll be touching, that's what I'll be focusing more on. But I did want to go ahead and let you know that if you have any questions related to the California grant, the Paycheck Protection Program, either the first draw, second draw, the modified first draw, the loan forgiveness, the employee payroll tax deferral, again, the employee retention tax credit is what I'll be sharing a little bit more detail on, the EIDL advanced grants, the EIDL loans, the express bridge loans, the debt relief, anything and everything you have a question on, please feel free to post those questions. And there's really has not been any change other than round 2 for the California Small Business COVID-19 grant. As you all know, it ended on February 8th. It closed at 6 p.m. And right now, the main thing is if you've been contacted and you've been told that you were selected and they're expecting for you to upload your documents, make sure that those have been done. Other than that, there's no action needed anymore. It's just a matter of waiting. I have heard of clients who have been told they were selected. I also have been told that that they've signed their agreement through DocuSign, and now they're just waiting. Lendistry is telling us that it does take up to three to 4 weeks for funding. So if you've already done all of that, it's just really a matter of waiting and being patient. So don't lose hope. Help is on the way. So make sure that you do understand that. Again, if you have been selected, haven't uploaded your documents, please make sure that you do that. Okay, when to contact us regarding the California grant. Again, if you need technical assistance, if you've already, tried yourself and are having difficulty because you don't understand how to upload the documents, or you think you're doing it, but it's still showing that it's not happening, then make sure to contact us and we'll be happy to assist you. We can assist you in another language or just simply help you understand how the program works. when to contact Lendistry if you can't find your username or password, or that if you're trying to reset your password and you can't, if you've tried to connect your bank and you are not being successful at that, make sure that you contact Lendistry for that. And I do want to give an update. Some of you have, have probably heard that the governor has passed a bill, or not a bill, but there's been some announcement about additional funding that has been approved. It's still not a bill. This is why it's important that we understand we're waiting for more information and guidance on how that those funds or that additional monies is going to be distributed and applied for. So just know that we are aware that those additional funds are coming, but we're also waiting on how those will be, those will affect the current programs, particularly the California Relief Grant. So one of the things that I've shared is, if you didn't qualify or you didn't meet all the criteria and have been told that you're on the wait list for the California grant, we know now there's more funds there. Originally there were 500 million. We're now waiting to see what's going to happen to that with those additional funds. So more than anything, it's just be patient. The other important thing about the PPP forgiveness, and which is part of the announcement that was made, is that originally California was going to treat the PPP loan as a taxable income. Or the expenses were not going to be able to be deducted from your taxes for California. We know that for federal purposes they have, but for California that had not been cleared up. And now through this new announcement that has been made, again, there's still not bills that contain this language yet, but you probably have seen that in the news. So just know to stay tight. My best recommendation is to consult with your tax accountant as you're preparing to file your taxes for 2020. If you are in the county of Santa Barbara, there are rental and utility grants. There is an emergency rental and utility assistance through United Way of Santa Barbara County starting February 16th. They will be offering emergency rental and utility assistance through United Way to eligible county of Santa Barbara residents that have experienced a loss of income due to COVID-19 pandemic and can demonstrate the need for rental support. This emergency rent assistance program is intended to prevent homelessness by providing rent assistance to residents, available to all Santa Barbara County residents up to $6,000 over 3 months. Open application approval, applicants may receive up to $6,000 over 3 months towards rental and utility expenses that will be paid directly to landlord and or utility providers on behalf of the application or the applicants. Applicants can reapply every 3 months up to a maximum of 15 months. I know that I don't have the website on this link, but I'm sure that Emily, your team will be able to post that on the chat, right? Yep. And now I'm going to jump into the employee retention tax credit. I want to make sure that everyone understands what it is. This particularly this credit is a broad-based refundable tax credit designed to encourage employers to keep employees on their payroll. The credit is 50% of up to $10,000 in wages paid by an employer whose business is fully or partially suspended because of COVID-19 or whose gross receipts decline by more than 50%. So this credit is a credit that you can claim in with your payroll taxes. And that's how you would, and again, I want to make sure that it is understood that the intention of this credit is that you kept your employees on payroll. The availability of this credit is to all employers, regardless of size, including tax-exempt organizations. There are only 2 exemptions. One, that the state and local governments and their instrumentalities, and 2, small businesses who take small business loans. To qualify, the employer has to meet one of the 2 alternative tests. The tests are calculated each calendar quarter. Either the employer's business is fully or partially suspended by government order due to COVID-19 during the calendar quarter, or the employer's gross receipts are below 50% of the comparable quarter in 2019. Once the employer's gross receipts go above 80% 80% of a comparable quarter in 2019, they no longer qualify after the end of that quarter. The calculation of the credit, the amount of the credit is 50% of the qualifying wages up to $10,000 in and it is effective for wages paid after March 13th of 2020 and December 31st, 2020. However, they've also extended this credit through June 30th of 2021. The definition of qualifying wages varies by whether an employee had on average more or less than 100 employees in 2019 and less than 100. If the employer had 100 or fewer employees on average in 2019, then the credit is based on wages paid to all employees, whether they actually worked or not. In other words, even if the employees work full-time and got paid for full-time work, the employer still gets the credit. And I'll go over an example in a minute. Greater than 100. If the employer had more than 100 employees on average in 2019, then the credit is allowed only for wages paid to employees who did not work during the calendar quarter. In both cases, wages includes not just cash payments, but also a portion of the cost of employer-provided healthcare. Now, let's just say that you obtain a PPP loan. And you obtained the PPP loan and you used up those funds within 8 weeks. But then after those 8 weeks, you still continued paying your employees on payroll. And your business was impacted. It was partially opened or, or not opened at all, but you continued paying your employees on your payroll. From the end of those 8 weeks, again, even if you had a PPP loan, from the end of those 8 weeks, that is when you are able to start counting those eligible wages. So make sure that even though you received a PPP loan, as long as you don't claim that the credit that you want to claim or that you want to apply for is for the same wages that your PPP loan covered, but it was for after the PPP loan funds ended, that is when you can then start claiming that credit. So normally you file taxes on, for quarter one, for quarter two, for quarter three, for quarter four. If let's say you had a PPP loan between quarter two and quarter three, you're gonna need to figure out when was it that my PPP funds ended that I used, and when did I continue paying my employees, for the rest of those quarters. That is when you can claim the credit for. I know that it's, it could be confusing, but that's just really figuring out when you use those, when you had the PPP loan or any other type of assistance, and that you're claiming that you were using those, those funds for that, and then, claiming that credit. The payment of this credit, you can immediately get reimbursed for the credit by reducing the amount of payroll taxes that have been withheld for your employees that were you were required to deposit with the Treasury. So in this case, most businesses either pay their payroll taxes with payroll, or they may pay them monthly, or they may pay them quarterly. So if you've already paid these your taxes for those quarters, then the way that you would be able to claim this credit would be to amend your 941 taxes and to be able to then claim this credit. So again, depending on what quarters you would be claiming this credit for and how you would be claiming it, you will need to apply through the 941X. Now, for this year, right now we're in the first quarter, and this credit is open or eligible for quarter one and quarter two. So for these 2 quarters, you are going to be able to receive an advance or claim an advance through Form 7200. That is when you already know, based on the taxes that you are, based on the wages you are paying, how much taxes you will be you will be owing, and then take that credit there. So then in essence, you wouldn't be paying that credit. I know this is difficult information, and my recommendation would be, if you have a payroll company that you are working with, they are familiar, or they should be familiar with this particular credit and how to amend your 941s, how to help you pull the information from your payroll reports to then complete, the advance repayment, the advance. And again, qualified wages are any wages you pay or incur for services performed by a qualified employee. Wages are generally defined as those wages subject to federal unemployment tax, which is your FUTA, without regard to the FUTA dollar limit. Qualified wages also include any qualified employee's health insurance benefits that are paid or incurred on behalf of a qualified employee. However, do not include any amount paid or incurred for health insurance under a salary reduction arrangement. Um, just a note, the Indian employment credit will expire for qualified wages and healthcare costs paid or incurred in tax years beginning after 2021. And I believe that's it on the ERTC credit. Just once again, I want to remind you that if you have questions regarding paycheck protection, the debt relief, EIDL loans, or the shuttered venue grant, right now that shorter venue grant, that we have no update yet. The application has not opened yet, so the information that we've given you in the past, remains the same at the moment. We have encouraged you to, stay up to date by visiting the SBA's website for the latest on the information on that grant. Also remind you that we still have our EDC Disaster Loan Fund, and Women Economic Ventures. And if you are still looking for other options, to visit it, also the SBA website with, additional COVID-19 funding resources. And visit our website for the latest on COVID-19 resources. Contact us if you need help, not just with these resources, but also with marketing, operations, legal, human resources. We are here for you, your tax dollars at work. So don't forget that. You can call our English line or our Spanish line as well. And here we are.
Here we are. Let me unmute myself like, I know what I'm doing or something. So, Juliana, I want to just share my experience as a business owner. And I took an EDC Thomas Fire loan actually like the week, I think I got my loan disbursement the week the Woolsey fire happened. And I was mortified that I had to ask for help. And I was so afraid because I know the people on the EDC board, and I'm like, well, I'm supposed to be such a good business owner. Like, I don't want anyone to know that I'm struggling. And so I don't know if my business would be here if I didn't take that EDC loan. So I just want to share that experience with everyone here. This is really hard. And our community is coming out of a couple really hard years. And so I just want to encourage each of you, take all the help that is being offered to you, because our community is stronger when we have strong small businesses. And EDC is here to help, Weave is here to help. Just say yes to all those things, because we need each of you to come through this with us. So that was my little plug. Okay, so we got some questions. Can you please speak more about the PPP forgiveness criteria for round 2? And here's a quote: employee and compensation levels are maintained in the same manner as required for the first draw PPP loan.
So as far as your, your loan was either based on 2019 number, your new second PPP loan was based either on 2019 numbers or on 2020 numbers, right? So if you use the 2019, the expectation is that you needed the same amount of money to continue operating as usual, right? So that means to keep your employees on payroll. And I want to remind everyone about that as well, because while our businesses have been impacted, and your operations may have also been impacted, where you had to shut down, and that means you can't have really have your employees at work. Well, PPP was designed exactly for that, so that if you couldn't keep them on payroll, you couldn't keep them there working, that you will still maintain them on payroll and continue paying them. So when you take that loan, the amount of the money is supposed to be used that way. So it is designed to be used to replace what you would have, the income that you would have received if your business had not been impacted in the way that it was. So with that in mind, is that when you need to provide prove or show that you maintained the payroll, you should ideally not have too much problem showing that, with the exception of, somebody maybe not wanting to return to work. Obviously, they might have refused their work. That is different. Obviously, you probably wouldn't have been able to maintain that payroll because they didn't return to work. That's different than if you laid them off and never brought them back. So understanding that, because when you if you are not able to show or prove that you maintained your payroll, by just showing your payroll reports and saying in 2019 I paid this much, in 2020 I paid this much, now I'm paying this much, it's similar, it may be a little off, but I did use all the funds and I did use them, via payroll. Make sure that the reason that you didn't maintain those payrolls is one that is covered by the safe harbor, which in this case, you couldn't operate, at normal capacity because of COVID. You couldn't bring your staff back because they refused to come to work. I mean, make sure that you understand the safe harbor so that you can then know how to answer and provide that proof of why you were able or not able to remain, to keep the same levels.
Great, thank you. Can you let us know if we should expect a 1099 from EDD SBA for PPP 1 and 2, stimulus checks, Ventura County Community Foundation, and Camarillo City grants?
In normal circumstances, I think you would receive a 1099 for, for this, for these funds. I'm not certain if that's going to be the case with everybody and with everything because of the amount of individuals and amount of applicants that have, gotten these resources. So I'm not certain. That is something that we can certainly, research into and maybe share at a later, webinar. But the hope here is that you will, regardless if they send you a 1099, that you will still report it on your taxes, that you will list them accordingly. So if you got a PPP loan last year and it was not forgiven, that right now that's listed as a liability on your taxes, or on your financials. That if you received a grant, that is listed as an other income. And this is where I also recommend that you have a conversation with your tax accountant. Feel confident that they need to be on top of what needs to happen. Some tax accountants may be, really up to date and following everything that so that they can really help their clients accordingly. Some may be just playing it safe and saying, maybe we should just file an extension. Just really, really have that conversation with your tax accountant and ensure that regardless if you receive the 1099 or not, that you are going to report it accordingly on your financials.
Great. And a follow-up, I don't know if this needs more information, but do we know which grants are taxable and which are not?
Well, it really depends, federal and state, as you know, even though we kind of follow the federal guidelines, California, has its own guidelines as well. I mean, what I shared about that forgiveness originally, California was not going to treat that loan, as a non-taxable income, or it was not going to allow those expenses to be a write-off, right? The federal was, but California wasn't, which is one of this great news that they are going to treat up to 150,000 of those expenses. So we don't know, we don't have a list of exactly what those are. And this is, again, why I recommend that you check with your tax accountant. We do know, for instance, for the California grant, it is on their website and under the Q&A that it is taxable income. So it is going to be reported on that one.
So we're not sure.
Yeah.
I am self-employed and have been receiving PUA. If I get PPP, how will I report that when certifying with EDD?
So when you report, be careful when you are reporting with the, to EDD, in the sense that report only what you pay yourself every week or however often you're certifying, not the full amount, right? Because you probably, it's only if you paid yourself the full amount, by all means, of course, report the full amount. But if you receive PPP and are, taking payments for the next 8 weeks, then report what you are getting each week. And it is my understanding that when you log on to certify, it would be considered as other income, not regular wages. That's what my understanding is under the EDD website, that when you log on to certify, there is an option there to report other income. And that's when you would report it. It would not be wages because in reality, it's not quote unquote received wages because that's your profit income. But that's my understanding on the EDD website under other income, and then you specify what it is, and you also again report the amount that you got paid that week or that period.
Great, wonderful. So we have one question that I needed clarification on. So Amy, check that Q&A because I had a clarifying question for you so that we can answer your question accurately. And that's the end of the questions. So everyone who's with us today, please continue to put questions in the Q&A. If we've covered everything regarding COVID grants, then you've got a pretty incredible lady who knows everything there is to know about QuickBooks and like proper accounting, how to maybe classify all of these resources that you're receiving within your QuickBooks so for easy tax reporting. But we do have one more question, and then we will open it up for other things. Can you clarify safe harbor?
Yes, so safe harbor is within the PPP loan forgiveness. I don't have the 3, but there are conditions that you got to meet which will make you exempt from having to show proof on those on keeping the level of employees or keeping the level of salaries, right? So if you, for whatever reason, you were not able to maintain your employees, your employee count for the period of the PPP loan, or if you were not able to keep your, the salaries amounts, then you're going to need to provide the reason as to why you are not able to do that. So the safe harbor has, 3 provisions where, it has to either do with the fact that you couldn't operate, because of COVID. There's, local orders or government orders where they, force you to stay closed. If an employee refused to come to work, that could be a reason that you were not able to maintain your employees. So it's really this provision with the PPP loan forgiveness that allows you to have an exemption when you are not meeting all the requirements for forgiveness.
Great, thank you. I applied for the California Relief Grant and didn't get an approval as of today. Does that mean I was not approved?
No, it does not mean that you were not approved. One of the things that we do know when in speaking with Lendistry is that when there's no communication whatsoever, it's typically because the applicant submitted the application 2 or 3 times without realizing they were doing it. I actually happened to be one of those where I didn't realize I had submitted an application twice for my business. And I kept getting emails saying I was missing information. I'm like, why am I missing? Everything's uploaded. I've already uploaded it. And when I called Lendistry and asked, hey, I'm getting these emails that I'm missing information, but I've already done it. They confirmed with me that there were 2 applications, and I didn't know that. So again, in what Lendistry has shared with us is that when an applicant has not heard, is mainly it's mostly because there may be multiple applications and they're sorting through those. So again, remember there were over 300 applicants. So they're going through those. And if of those 300 applicants, some are duplicates, that means that they're sorting through those. So don't lose hope. I would suggest though that you contact Lendistry, contact their customer service and inquire about your particular situation. Also remember, if you used an email that had info or contact, or there were a particular list of what emails not to use, those, if you had one of those, those are, I don't want to say that they're going to be ignored, but they're not eligible through the way that they were very specific on that. So also check on that, but don't lose hope. If you haven't heard, I wouldn't say that you haven't been approved. I would just say, do your best to contact them and reach out and find out.
I want to build on that a little bit.
Mhm.
So I just sort of encouraging everyone to just pick up the phone and be prepared to wait on hold for half your day. But, I had applied for my round 2 PPP through PayPal, and I even signed loan docs. I was approved and I signed loan docs, and then it just disappeared. And I didn't hear anything for weeks. And I was thinking it was just a process or whatever. And I picked up the phone and called them. And I'm a millennial. I'm so hesitant to pick up the phone. I don't want to talk to anybody. And it turned out we discovered that I had made a mistake in my application. I clicked that I was a franchise, which threw everything off. And so they asked me to reapply. So I just want to encourage everyone to pick up the phone if you have questions. The people that I have talked to have been so kind and so generous, and like they really want to help you get that money. So pick up that phone.
Yes.
Did I miss this? Do you anticipate a round 3 of the California relief?
So we don't know. However, what I would say is that, like I mentioned in a little brief, very briefly, because of this additional funds, we're expecting, and it is specific that it'll go towards this program of the California Relief Grant. What we don't know is how that money is going to come. We don't know if it's going to go via a round 3 or via round 4. We don't know, or via some type of other program, or if it's going to be the same program just working with the applications that are already there. We don't know that. I mean, obviously, I can only make a speculation about that, but what I'm personally hoping is that there will be just more funding towards those applications that are already there. So this is where I said, don't lose hope. If you're someone that was not selected yet and have been told that you were wait listed, then you're already in the queue, hoping with the hope that these funds will just come and bring all those applications that are being waitlisted to be funded. We don't know that. We're not certain about that. So I'm not saying that that's happening. I'm just saying that's what our hope is. We will have more information. As soon as we have that information, we will release it.
Yep, great, thank you. Any update on EIDL grants as far as qualifications based primarily on business location and whether Ventura County businesses might qualify?
We don't know how that, like I mentioned in our previous webinar, we don't know how, we know that the government has these areas identified already. What we do know is that even if you knew if you were in that area, there's nothing you could do. You're still gonna have to wait for the SBA to contact you. So even if we knew if you were in a low income area, or which areas of Ventura or Santa Barbara counties where, there's really not much you can do to check in on the status for you, because the process is going to be that the SBA will contact each individual business that applied and that qualifies to and reach out to them.
Great, thank you. And just a reminder, if you've got a question, make sure you put it in the Q&A. We see a couple of them in the chat, so our team's going to ask you to repost it in the Q&A. And we've seen a couple people raise your hands. So same thing, if you're raising your hand, the best way to get a question answered is to put it in the Q&A. How long do you have to request for relief from first PPP and second PPP?
So it's 10 months from the end of the cover period. So look at your cover period. So when it began and when it ended. From the date that it ended, you have 10 months from that date to apply for forgiveness. I would encourage you, though, not to wait. Don't wait. I would say as soon as your lending institution has their portal available, submit for forgiveness. Right now, those forgiveness applications, there's a simplified version for those loans over under 150,000. So really forgiveness is not that difficult, meaning you get into the portal, you certify, you verify that all your information, it's still the same, like your contact information, you know, I have seen that some banks have even already your SBA number, your PPP loan amount. I mean, they already have all of that ready to go, as long as, and all you need to do is certify that the money was used the way that that it was intended to be used. So I wouldn't wait. My recommendation would be figure out when your cover period is. You should already know this now. Um, know that, go to your calendar, check when 10 months from there is, and then give yourself a deadline, a month from, no, don't wait though. Just as long, as soon as you can, but then just put that and make that your own deadline, as long as it's within those 10 months.
Yeah,
Other,
yeah. I just requested my first round forgiveness, and it was just like lickety so easy, like 10, 15 minutes, super duper easy. So, and I haven't been granted the forgiveness, but just the application was really easy. So, yep. Can I accept round 2 PPP if I haven't gotten the forgiveness application from PPP round 1? So what I think Mary is asking is, she got round 1, she wants to apply for round 2, but she hasn't been invited by her bank to apply for forgiveness from round 1.
Yes, you can. You can apply for a second PPP loan. As a matter of fact, some banks have decided to wait on forgiveness until the second round is over. So that's actually, I don't know if that's actually better or not, but it sounds to me like they're going to try to simplify how they ask for forgiveness. So you can apply for PP. I mean, that's what I've seen with a lot of the banks, that they stopped receiving forgiveness, even if they were already receiving forgiveness. As soon as PPP2 came out, they stopped those processes. Those that were already in the queue, they continued, but they're on pause right now, or they accepted, but they're on pause right now. They're not processing those. And then what I've heard from some of the banks is that they're just waiting until March 31st, or until, all the funds, or when they have slowed down for accepting PPP round 2. And then they're going to start the loan forgiveness. And again, you have 10 months to ask for forgiveness from the date of your first cover period. So even if you didn't apply, it's still quote unquote not due. So you have that time.
Great. And Megan, I think we just answered your question, but if you want more clarification, just repost it and we'll keep talking about it. Is UI being extended?
We don't know. I'm not aware of that at the moment. This agreement that they reached this week and that they announced, it's a lot of hope, but there's no true bills yet. So again, as soon as that information is available, we'll be sure to check it. We don't know that yet.
Hold on, everyone. I know it's really hard, but like, more help is coming. We know more help is coming. We just don't know exactly what those details are, but like, help is coming.
Right.
Regarding the EIDL grant comment, would you recommend being proactive and calling SBA to see if your location qualifies?
I mean, like I said, you could, but I don't think you're gonna get, you're not gonna get much answer, because our understanding is that this is targeted. Therefore, there's a particular department or a particular wing within the SBA that is in charge of that. So I'm not sure how far you're going to get, but I don't think you're gonna get much, much needed. You're welcome to call them, but I don't think you will be able to get, much information.
I feel like we'll know. Like, when the information is available, like, we will know and we'll be able to communicate that to everyone.
And I also want to say, I mean, the SBA has been contacting business owners in the sense that, they are contacting them to let them know how they can make their first payment, because as you know, some of those EIDL loans have already, it was deferred for a year. So now, the year is about to come up for some of those loans. So they have been contacting them to give them information and guidance on how to make their first payment. That's one. Number two, the SBA has also been going through files. They did hired a third party company who is helping them go through compliance and make sure that everything, over all the documents have been received. If you recall, when you applied for the EIDL originally, it was just really they were believing on everything you were entering, you certifying, but that still doesn't meet their compliance, right? It was just a way to get the help out. But now we got to come back and kind of like, put things in order. And one of those tasks have been, let's go through the files and make sure that we have all the documents that we need, such as your hazardous insurance, or such as, for those that are incorporated, the borrower resolution note, or, the minutes. Or I have seen some that request information from the owner, like their social security and their verification of address. So I've seen those. So that means they are actually going through. So there's multiple things that the SBA is working on.
Thank you. If you receive grants, do you have to inform Covered California of the income increase?
I'm not sure how Covered California, I'm not familiar with how Covered California works, because that's more like on the personal side, I would say. However, if they based it off of your taxes, like for you to apply for Covered California, and they based it off of the income you received, I'm not sure if when you filed your taxes, it's gonna specify whatever your income was from the business. I mean, your tax accountant would be the best person to 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 help you with, how everything gets reported on your taxes. That's one. But two, if you have an agent that you work with, like I know some individuals work with a particular like healthcare insurance professional or agent, and they are more familiar with what information, or how Cover California uses the information from your taxes to either qualify you or not, or what you qualify for. So I would encourage you to maybe reach out to Cover California and see like, what information on my taxes do you need from me, and maybe pose that question directly to them.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, I'm not familiar with that.
so I get my insurance from Covered California. And so what that looks like is at the end of each year, they ask me to project not my business income, but like Emily, the employee's income. And then based on my projected income, they give me more subsidies or less subsidies, right? Because based on my wages, it's more or less subsidized or not at all. And then when I file my taxes, so I did that for 2020, right? And when I file my 2020 taxes, then there's a reconciliation process where essentially I say, oh, I thought I would make $100, but I really made $120, which means they subsidized me too much, which means I need to now like repay some of that subsidy. So I don't know. I think we need to talk to Cover California about this because I'm assuming the same is true. However, I'm speaking as an employee of my own S Corp. And so I don't know what that looks like if you're a sole proprietor or an LLC or something else. So maybe we should add this to our.
It is my understanding. I just like you explained it, and thank you for explaining that. Just it is my understanding that when you're a sole proprietor, it's based on your Schedule C, which is what I'm saying. That I don't, as far as reporting it to Covered California, I don't know or think that you do. However, like you very well explained right now, there's going to be a reconciliation. So you are already being told how much do you expect to make this year, for 2020, and that's what they're going to base your premium. It's very similar to when you buy insurance, right? Like or workers' comp insurance. What do you expect your payroll is going to be? And then they base the premium based on that. And then at the end of the policy, there is a reconciliation that happens, and you pay too much, you get that refund. If you pay too little, then you are billed. It is my understanding on that. But like I said, as far as reporting it to Cover California, well, what is your income gonna look like for 2021, or what was it for 2020?
Yeah.
So.
USDA certificate designated the Solvang area as a USDA Center of Faith and Opportunity, also known as a Local Prosperity Council. Does that make it a rural area?
Ooh, I'm not sure. I'm sorry.
I don't know either. So Jahi, why don't you pull those out and let's see from the Q&A, and we'll see if we can come
Yeah,
back with answers at a later date.
yeah.
Regarding not receiving the forgiveness application from Wells Fargo Wells round 1 and having been approved for PPP round 2 from Bluevine, can I accept the Bluevine loan? Yeah, so it sounds like this person got their round 1 PPP from Wells Fargo and round 2 from Bluevine. So can they accept round 2?
Yes, as long as they didn't apply for, at both, for number 2 at both banks, because that's, remember, when you apply, there is that creates an application with the SBA, and if the SBA says 2, it's gonna, it's probably gonna deny them. So you want to make sure, yes, you can apply it from a different bank. It doesn't have to be the original bank that you received the first one from, as long as you're not applying through both banks for that second round. So just be careful on that. But yes, you can apply, you can accept it or apply through another um, uh, bank.
And if someone did apply it to institutions for round 2 and they accept one, should they then call the second institution and retract their application?
Yes, and I would say yes it really, this comes down to the lenders, right? But the SBA is specific that, if you apply for 2, that's considered fraud. So they may deny you just simply because they are seeing 2 files. So make sure that you don't apply and accept, or just simply apply, because again, that creates an SBA number, and that could, not be good for you.
Got it. We have one question left and like 14 minutes. So if anyone has more questions, make sure you put them in that Q&A. Does income received from UI go towards net income for covered California insurance premium determination?
Once again, I would check with your covered California agent. I think that they're going to be the best to help you in assisting you with how covered California reads the information from your taxes or from your income. I think that that's going to be the best person that will help you navigate through that. And again, or just simply contacting Cover California. I'm pretty sure they have that information in their Q&A somewhere. But yeah, unfortunately, I'm not familiar with that process.
Okay, it's possible. Oh,
Ooh, one more.
I applied for the grant 3 weeks ago. How long does it take before they let you know you get it? I'm assuming that's the California Relief Grant.
I'm going to assume that too. And again, so there are all of the applications that were eligible and successful that were selected or not selected or waitlisted have already been notified. So if your application was, complete, if it was, either eligible, not eligible, waitlisted, all of those that, let's say that completed all the check marks have been notified. Those that have not been notified, I did explain that at the beginning, it is most likely because you could have had multiple applications. So they're sorting through those. And as they're sorting through those and they come to find the accurate one, that's when they will notify you, which could take up several weeks. I mean, it's taking up several weeks just for those that have already been approved, applied, verified, and funds are still not in the bank for those that were, that completed all of their check marks. So in your case, if you've applied and you haven't heard, any decision, don't lose hope, but you could contact Lendistry and check on the status as far as just to make sure that they have a record with your email. They may not be able to give you more information as to, if you're approved or not approved or qualified, but at least they can tell you, yes, we do see this. And like I said, when I called, it was, hey, it is because you have 2 applications. And I didn't even know that. So just and that's one of the things that's happening for those of you who are not hearing anything. That could be the reason. If you recall, when we were right at the end, right before the window, and we were trying to get into the portal was very
Glitchy.
yes, it was very glitchy, which didn't with prevented for some individuals to successfully apply. And then we came to the realization that because that was the recommendation from Lendistry, said, if you haven't heard, if you don't have, then apply again, right? And then you finally then got a username and password. And if you did get a username and password, then you can check and you have a CIR number. When you log on with your username and password, there's an application number. I mean, GIR, sorry. GRI, yes. So make sure that you can log on there and see if it just says they're pending and all your documents are uploaded. Then again, just don't lose hope. Most likely it is that you may have a second application. This is where you should contact Lendistry and just double check that they don't have two applications for you, because that is going to slow the process.
So just to make sure that I heard this right. So if you either applied for round 2 or were notified that you were waitlisted for round 2 and you haven't heard anything yet, consider giving Lendistry a call to make sure that you don't have 2 applications in there.
Correct, because it is our understanding that everyone has been notified if they were selected or not by now.
Got it. I fall into that category. So I guess we know what I'll be doing this afternoon. Calling Lendistry. Lendistry said that they would make changes to the California Relief Grant application if I identified what needed to be edited and replied to their email. I did both. This was prior to the deadline. If they didn't make those changes, I will probably not get the grant. I am waitlisted, so is there anything I can do or just wait?
If you are waitlisted and they've told you that you're waitlisted, then at that, don't lose hope. That doesn't mean it's a no. That does also mean that it may not be a yes, right? Like it doesn't mean either or, right? It just means that you're in the queue. Now, if you're waitlisted and then you end up being selected, then they're going to contact you with follow-up instructions. They're going to tell you, okay, you've now been moved to the verification process. And at that time is when you can, then I'm not sure what type of information was was incorrect, but, if it has to do with, your business name or anything like that, that's why the verification process happens, because they're going to need to verify that. That's why they ask you for your tax ID. I mean, for your taxes, for your identification. So like if your birthday was wrong on the application, but then you provide them with your ID or driver's license, and then that has a different, date, obviously they're going to go through that, and there'll be someone that will contact you to verify all that information. Okay. So again, don't lose hope.
Yes. One more follow-up question. Lendistry asked me for my bank account yesterday. Does that mean that I got funded?
If they did, probably, because one of the things that was clear from the get-go is that putting your bank information did not mean that you were going to be funded. And also, right on the portal, it did say that you did not need to put your bank information if until you were actually approved, or you were actually approved. I think it was the word. So it could be a maybe. I know that, again, they're dealing with over 300,000 applicants. So I know that they're also have an automated system, and a lot of emails have, been going out automatically. I shared already that I was getting all these emails saying, you're missing this information. I'm like, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. And then verified that, no, that I wasn't missing it, just that I had another application. So again, I would say if you've done that part, just as long as you follow through, then just wait until they contact you again.
Great. One more follow-up question about that bank account verification third party that they go through. And so I'm actually trying to pull up my my account right now.
It looks like it's the Plaid app. They use Plaid.
Okay, good. I just wanted to double check that name. So that process looks like, verify my bank account information, and then it pops up with like a third-party piece of software that says, enter your bank account
Logging in password.
login and password. So yes, that felt wrong to me. It is right. So yes, that's the way that.
Something else that I would mention, because it happened to me too. When you log on and you enter that, your username and password after the connection has happened, then it really doesn't tell you that there's been a successful confirmation, like a successful connection. It just kind of disappears.
Yeah.
And then it turns out to be green, right? Like as a complete. And I'm like, wait, did that go through or not? We verified that, yes, that's the way that they have it.
Great.
So, yeah.
Okay, well, I believe, my friend, that we have come to the end. So our next webinar will be next Wednesday.
Actually, we are because I don't think we're having one next Wednesday. So what we're gonna do is just wait for a newsletter. Let's wait for a newsletter, because I think we're gonna skip this week or a couple of weeks. So we are not having one next week. But stay up to date with our newsletters. Visit our website for the latest on when our next will be.
Great, great, great. Well, thank you everyone for being here. Jahi, will you put the EDC contact information in the chat? So if you're at this webinar, doesn't necessarily mean you're an EDC client. And so what you need to do is call the phone number or visit that website that's in the chat and ask to be added as a client. In that intake process, it takes just a couple minutes, and they'll ask you more about what you need, what support you need. Yes, COVID support, but also like general business support. I've been an EDC client for probably 5 years or something. And then it'll take them a couple days, maybe a week, to match you up with the appropriate consultant based on what your needs are and that consultant's availability.
I do have another commercial. I do I do teach the QuickBooks class through Ventura Score of the second Tuesday of every month. So if you need help with anything related to QuickBooks, this particular month coming up on March 9th, I will be going through starting QuickBooks from scratch. So if you've never taken a QuickBooks class, or if you've never done that, then you can join me at 10:30 on the 9th. And again, if you visit the EDC website, we have all of the upcoming webinars, and that information for that particular webinar will be on there.
Well, and I have to say, as a business owner who's not you, Juliana, doing bookkeeping and accounting and all that stuff is like my worst nightmare. And this is the time to get your books in order, because there will continue to be more resources and more help. And for all of those applications, you need to have your books in order. And that really, I've heard from my other business owner friends about how long it's taking them to complete these applications. And it's because their books aren't in order. So it's really like the difference, it'll take me 30 minutes to apply for something, and it took one of my friends 6 hours to apply. So just as an opportunity to do that. No one likes it except for Juliana. So just do it. I know it sucks.
And I want to add just really quick. That's one of the things that we've seen. We've seen the difference of those business owners or those businesses that have benefited from all the help available by having their books in order. And we've seen how, how disadvantaged you are when you don't have your books in order, which is why, I do the webinars every month through Ventura Score, Santa Barbara Score, because I know how important it is, and I know how difficult it could be too. So again, join us, and we will keep you up to date on when we will be doing the next webinar.
Well, and we got one more question in last minute, and it's a big question, so I think it's important to answer. Donna is wondering how you get EIDL.
Oh, wow. Okay. So for the EIDL loan, the way that you would do it, you would go to sba.gov, and select on relief options, and you will see the list of the different options there are. There's an EIDL, option. You will find more information on how that program works. It is, a straightforward loan. It is based on the cost, on uh, it's based on the average monthly cost of goods sold of your business. So if you, depending on the type of business you are, you take your total cost of goods sold, cost of goods sold, divide that by 12, multiply by 6, and that's how what amount you qualify for. So you're gonna need your financials with your cost of good number um, ready when you apply, and they will ask you for information for your business, like your tax ID number, address, the type of business that you are, and all that good stuff. And they're also going to ask you for your personal information as the owner. If you are the only owner, you own 100% of your business, then it'll be just your information. Any owners over 20% in the business, they will also need to be listed. So just make sure that you have that information. My recommendation is to have your profit and loss for 2019 ready, that shows your income, your cost of goods sold, and your expenses. Have your 2019 taxes, and apply with that information. And of course, have your tax ID number and your social security number and all of that information there.
Yeah, and this didn't happen this time when I applied for an EIDL. I think because I applied so quickly and they were just like trying to push money out. But when I applied for an EIDL after Thomas fire, it really was like a process where I submitted my application and then a representative called me. And so I like physically carried my book printouts with me because you don't know when they're going to call you, and it's the SBA's, so you don't want to wait on hold. And so have you heard if that process has kind of gone back to normal where a rep will call you?
Not for, if there is, they will send you an email and they will tell you what they need. And if obviously they provide you with their contact information, if you have additional questions. But what I've seen is they're being doing pretty good at sending you an email, letting you know, hey, we received your application. We are processing it. I am the one in charge of this, of your case. This is your case number, or your loan number. And then
Oh, you froze for a minute.
I froze for a minute. I said they're very good at listing what they need from you.
Okay.
And I haven't seen when they're doing a lot of calls. I'm just seeing that they've been sending emails. And you are right. That application that you went through through the Thomas fire, way different right now with the EIDL. But look, they were helping a smaller amount of businesses. Right now, it's the entire nation, right? And so,
Oh, folks.
and one thing that I would say right now with Texas going through what they're going, the process for an EIDL loan is much more simpler. Thank you to COVID, because now they've simplified the process on that. I'm not saying that we gotta be grateful for COVID. I'm just saying that thanks to the process of EIDL and processing all those applications, we've become masters at now submitting the help, being able to help other disasters. Just saying.
Awful. It was, I'll
But
tell you.
see, we learned from your situation. We learned thanks to Thomas fire, again, not the actual incident, but I'm saying the process, and it got better. And so now it's gotten better. So the help is there.
Yeah, and I just want to say how proud I am. I lost your name, but how proud I am of whoever asked that question, that you're looking at all of these help opportunities. Like, this is really hard. There is no shame in asking for help. And, just personally for my business, I took that full EIDL loan and it's just sitting in my bank account. It's my safety net so that, as a business owner, scared decisions are not good decisions. And so that is just like my nice little cozy safety blanket so that I can continue to march forward with confidence, continue to make decisions that are based on my strategic plan, not by being afraid of cash. So I really encourage you guys to explore all of the opportunities available. And don't forget, for these programs, there's no prepayment penalty.
Mhm.
So my plan is I took that EIDL loan, it's sitting in my bank account. In May, when I need to make repayments, it will come out of that. So it is repaying itself. I'm not doing anything wild with it. It's just my safety net. And in a year or 2 years or 5 years, when I'm like, yeah, we're super solid, I'll just pay it all back. So I just wanted to put that in people's minds. We have another question. What's the
Yeah.
difference between PPP1 and PPP2? I feel out of the loop and I don't understand what the differences are.
So PPP1 is if you, so the Paycheck Protection Program is a program designed to keep your employees on payroll. Especially if your business has been impacted, you're not getting the income that you were. Now, Paycheck Protection Program is there to help you continue paying your employees like you normally would should the pandemic not happen or should the disaster not happen. That is number one. Now, in that, the PPP program was designed or came out last year. And the funds were available, I believe, through June 5th. I don't remember the date anymore because now I'm more into this new round. So they were available. Businesses could take out a loan that is forgivable. So if you use it the way that it's intended, it does get forgiven, and it is based on payroll. So that's what the PPP loan. So you take your 2019 numbers, divide those by 12, you figure out what your average monthly payroll is, and then you multiply that by 2.5. Or if you're a business in the hospitality business, then or in the hospitality industry, then it's times 3.5. So those funds were exhausted back in June, I want to say. And then we didn't have any relief until December 27th when they reopened, refunded PPP. And now PPP1 is for those businesses that did not take a PPP in the first round. So PPP1 is for those businesses that did not take a PPP before. PPP2 is for those businesses that did take out a PPP1, they've exhausted those funds. Now they have the ability to take a second loan. So that second PPP with the same provisions, the provisions are to use it the way it says intended to, which is keep your employees on payroll. If because of the fact that you cannot operate at a full capacity, you have to only, be open, let's say, for half the time, then you can use 40% of those funds, not just for payroll, but also for other expenses such as your rent, your utilities, your mortgage interest, other, operational costs like PPE protection costs. So depending if you took out a PPP one, or I'm sorry, a PPP in the first round, then you wouldn't qualify for a PPP one again. You would have to do a PPP two. Now for PPP two, there is a requirement that you must show at least 25% reduction in sales compared to a quarter in 2019. So if 2020, most businesses show the loss either on the second or the third quarter. So when you look at your profit or your sales from 2020 and compare it to the same quarter in 2019, and if your reduction was at least 25% or more, then you do qualify for a second PPP. If you didn't meet the 25%, then you wouldn't qualify for a second PPP. I hope I did a good job there.
And walk me through real quick the way you pull that QuickBooks report that just makes it super simple.
So for the reduction, you mean? So you go to your profit and loss, you are going to select from January 1st, 2020 to December 31st, 2020. Then you're going to select on compared period, and you're going to compare it to the previous year, and you're going to select the checkbox that says percentage. So when you click on that and click run report, now you're going to see your P&L broken by quarters and compare current year versus previous year. And then the third column within each quarter, it's going to tell you the percentage. I don't have it ready for me to show it, but if you come to one of the QuickBooks classes, I can show you that there.
Awesome. Okay, my friend, we have come to the end. Thank you, all of you who have joined us today. We will see you soon. Hang in there. You're not alone. we're just going to keep putting one foot in front of the other.
Yes, one day at a time too.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks, friends.
All right, bye.